Solo travellers are subjected to discriminatory practices, which if they were visited upon any of a minority, a gender or a racial minority, would be the subject of lawsuits. Basically, they travel around the world saying, charge me more for everything. It's an unfortunate side effect of a travel industry that is built entirely on a system where the hotels and the cruise lines charge people for sharing a room. The world came in couples. It's like Noah's Ark, 2 by 2 by 2. And if anyone deviates from that, they have to pay a penalty, a price penalty. What we're going to spend the next 30 minutes doing is working our way around that. We're not going to change that. No matter how much we shout about it, it's going to take a lot of changing. But what we can try and come up with, and I'm not sure we'll succeed. I'm not guaranteeing the solution, but I am guaranteeing answers to the questions. What we will try and work out is ways around that penalty that solo travellers suffer under. I want to invite to the stage my very, very knowledgeable speakers. And Marissa Beck comes from the Travel Corporation. They're a very very interesting portfolio of 4 different products, and they include a river cruise company, Uniworld, an escorted tour company, Insight, a youth adventure company called Contiki, and also a suite of hotels, Red Carnation, high-end 5-star hotels. Ashford Castle in Mayo would be the best known of them in Ireland. And also Jeanette Taylor. Jeanette Taylor represents the tour operator Sunway. They won the European Sun Tour Operator Award at the Irish Travel Industry Awards the other night, Thursday night. And Sunway are Irish-owned, large tour operator, one of the 3 major tour operators operating out of Ireland, and they have a very strong presence in the hall here. And I better acknowledge that Marissa was also on the podium the other night accepting an award for Specialist Cruise Company. Yep. And we have 2 at great expense flown in from the other end of the hall. We have Jeanette Taylor and Marissa Beck, and we're going to try, between the 3 of us, tackle this vexatious issue, and there's no other word for it. How does the solo traveller manage to engage with the travel industry without being ripped off, is not too strong a word for it? I'm going to put that first of all to Jeanette, because you're a little bit of a prisoner of the system that is set up by the hoteliers that you deal with. Isn't that the way it works? That the entire hotel industry is built on, it's called European Plan, per person sharing. That's how prices are worked out. And it doesn't matter what personally you or the people in team in Sunway think about this. This is what's visited upon you, and your job now is to try and make that easier for solo travellers. Is that fair enough to say?
That's fair enough, Owen. I think, to be honest with you, I think the whole dynamic has changed a lot. It used to be very kind of stereotyped or whatever, but that's all different now because there's much more holidays available to the solo traveller. Unfortunately, there is this thing with the hotels that they are losing revenue on one person in a room instead of 2. So it's the hotels determine the price, but there are areas or times of the year where the solo traveller will not be penalised as much, but unfortunately that is just the way it is.
And Marissa, I know Travel Corporation put a lot of thought into this. They, again, dealing with hotels, but you do own some of your own product as well. Mm-hmm. How important are solo travellers to Travel Corporation? Do you see them booking in large numbers with you rather than going to alternatives?
Yeah, absolutely. Solo travel has become increasingly more popular over the years, but especially this year, we've had a really high response in terms of people that are just looking to travel on their own and go it alone without a companion, because you shouldn't be held back just because of the fact that perhaps you want to travel alone and have your own style of travel. So they are very important to us. We have seen a rise in people that are booking to travel just by themselves. So we've adjusted some of our practices to accommodate and meet those increasing demands of people looking to travel on their own, such as Eoghan mentioned, with Uniworld, which is our river cruising company, we've actually taken a number of itinerary and departure dates and either reduced or completely waived the solo supplement fee on that.
The supplement,
absolutely, because it's a demand that's rising in the market, as we've seen, and it's something that we want to continuously accommodate the needs of people that are traveling in a different style, and it's almost just become a trend that's showing that it's going to be prevalent and continue moving forward. So we're definitely matching our product to suit that need that our travelers have.
Jeanette, interested in what you say. You see things are changing. Does that mean single supplements are being reduced or being phased out, and is it only for certain times of the year?
Well, I think a lot more companies are coming on board with the fact that there is a big rise in the solo traveler. So they are, like, we would have certain parts of our program, for example, cruise. We have, like, with NCL, they would actually welcome the solo traveler. They would organize a welcome drinks night for the solo traveler, because it's not about, solo traveler, I think, is just about travel. It is a big rise. We can see a dramatic rise in it. So we do have certain hotels who offer us no supplements at all, and they are available with the Sunway program. So it's just about looking for, we actually would have a hotel or something in all of our program that would not have a supplement for a solo traveler.
Marissa, my experience of places that waive the single supplement or reduce the penalty is they tend to do it at times that they don't have a very full product anyway. Is that fair to say? Is that how it works? That they will harvest the high prices at times that most people want to travel, and then they'll offer some sort of incentive to solo travel at other times?
It can certainly be the case. As I mentioned, it's something that's becoming more popular now more than it ever has been before. So it's something that's new to the market that we're adjusting the way that we're handling it as well. So we're trying to bring that offer across the board, but it is a slow crawl to get there, but it is on a number of different dates throughout the month, but predominantly it is sometimes the dates that may not be as popular, but because there is such a demand, you can certainly see that across the board more and more dates are becoming available because more and more people are traveling on their own, and we're trying to adjust the availability based on that to accommodate all different travel types and travel styles.
You mentioned NCL, Jeanette. I think it may have been Norwegian Epic was the first ship I saw that had specific staterooms for solo travellers.
Yeah, they do.
How is that working out? Are Norwegians still pursuing that?
Norwegian are pursuing that, and it's really nice because then sometimes I'm sure the solo traveller could feel a bit limited and say, oh look, will I go here, will I go there? So in all parts of our program, we would, and NCL, we welcome the fact that they encourage the solo traveller. Also, adventure holidays, we can see a big surge in that for the solo traveller. Like G Adventures, we deal a lot with G, because you might like, everybody's perception of a holiday is different. So what one person likes, the other person doesn't like. So, the adventure holidays definitely is a really nice one for the solo traveller.
Marissa, what should solo travellers do? Should we sort of march, take our placards and blockade the major cruise lines and the airport and say, do something for solo travellers? Let's start the revolution. Have you any plan to make life better for solo travellers?
Well, we're certainly trying to encourage it across all of our brands. Like, as Eoghan mentioned, we do have, we're a family of brands, so the Travel Corporation, we have over 30 award-winning brands in that portfolio. So, as he mentioned, there's Uniworld, which is the cruising, but there's also Insight Vacations and Luxury Gold, which is escorted traveling. And for that, we're opening it up a lot more in terms of allowing room sharing options and encouraging that. And we've even set up a new system.
So you share a room with a stranger?
but people see
match.
it.
No, I mean,
Yeah, you match. Yeah,
I don't want it to sound that negative, but
Yeah.
to save price, you
Yeah.
can match like-minded people.
Absolutely.
That could end up having a long friendship, as has happened in some of the escorted tours. I know they're rivals of yours,
Yeah.
like Explore and Exodus and people like that.
Yeah.
You would, as a company, match like-minded people.
Absolutely.
And sometimes great friendships develop out of that.
Yeah,
too.
we've heard a lot of really great stories. Even today at our stand, I've spoken to people that have been matched and they've been friends and actually traveled on other holidays with the person that they met. And it's a really big social aspect for some people, and they meet lifelong friends that way. So although it might seem initially that you might be sharing with someone that is initially a stranger, you could forge a really great friendship that way too, and meet someone that's like-minded and of the same interests as you, and that could continue on as a travel companion potentially, or someone that you just stay lifelong friends with.
And I'm going to call for questions from the floor. Anybody who has any comments, questions about the whole vexatious is the word I used, issue of solo travel. I'm going to look for a little bit of personal advice, Jeanette, specifically for women traveling alone. Have you any tips for women traveling alone?
Did you say women?
Sorry, specifically women, yeah.
Specifically women. Okay, well,
It's not
again,
my area of expertise.
no, what we do see is with a lot of women, we would have probably more, the cruise would be probably the highest one. The escorted tours, we deal with a company called Trafalgar, and they're a 4-star company. And again, like Marissa said, they would be, match you with somebody, as near, as like you as possible. But if that doesn't work out and you get there and you don't really, it's not that, you're going to say, I don't like that person just to, to get a free sort of room from them. But that does happen, that two people are in a room and they just don't want to be there. So then you can be exempt from all the extra room charges if they do apply. But we do see, I think cruising, Eoghan, to answer your question, would be probably, or adventure.
That's what
Maybe
you recommend.
somebody who wants to go to the Great Wall of China and somebody else doesn't want to go with them.
Yeah.
So you will meet other people who will be like you. And as Marissa said, you'll end up being great friends.
Somebody told me that a lot of the growth in solo travel is not, the traditional person who's alone, but the partner has no interest in the Great Wall of China. And they end up doing a lot of their really exciting stuff alone.
Well, it's a unique way of traveling. Well, it's exciting. You have to step outside your comfort zone as well. So, we have something to offer for everybody.
Yeah.
Marissa, same question. The predicament of a woman traveling alone, and particularly in a sector, 4 or 5 sectors. Any tips that you'd have, or that you'd have heard or learned down the years in your vast experience in travel?
Yeah, absolutely. I have to really go on the same wavelength as Jeanette and say that if you are traveling alone, whether male or female, it's just nice to have the comfort of being with a group, but as well as being with other people per se. So I think a guided holiday or a river cruise is nice because you have that base to go back to where you can still step out of your comfort zone and do things that maybe perhaps the group isn't doing. Like if you want to do an excursion that perhaps isn't on the itinerary, you can certainly have the flexibility to do that, but you also have kind of that home base to go back to, whether it is on board the ship or whether it's with your group at the end of the evening or at the end of the day. I would just say it's nice to have, as a female, if I was traveling by myself, I think I'd prefer a little bit more structure and kind of some companions that aren't necessarily the people that you are that you you went traveling with, but people that you met along the way that you can still share some experiences with if you'd like, but just to more so not feel like you're totally by yourself in that way.
One of the things I often recommend is airport lounges.
Yeah.
You don't actually have to fly business class to be in an airport lounge. You can buy it for something like $15 or $20 or euro. Even the premium expensive lounge in Dublin Airport, the 51st and Green, which after you go through a US immigration, if you're in business class, obviously you're in there, but if you pay $35, you get in, and it's a very rarefied place, far away from the hub, the noise and the hostility almost. Hostility is too strong a word, but that busyness of the airport, and it's a lovely thing to do if you're traveling alone.
Yeah.
And it's a good escape. It's good escape for headspace. It's something I'd always recommend to the solo traveler. Is there anybody who would like to make a comment or a question from the audience? We have someone here on the 5th row or the 4th. I can't count anymore.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, I just, you know, in England they have a lot of like solo groups, and is there anything in Ireland that has holidays for single people, like exclusively for single people? It's not necessarily about paying the supplement. It might be that we want to go and, say, go to Spain for a week with a group. Now, I know the travel department do some. I've been on all of them, but I kind of, I've run out of them now. Like, is there no other travel agent that would take that on? Like, I mean, there's loads of people now, single, separated, divorced. So there is a market out there, and
Very,
I
very
can't
good
find
point.
anywhere.
Really, really good point. We've had solo traveller specialist tour operators or groups operating in England and in other European countries. We had one based in Northern Ireland for a little while. We also have a travel agent in Ireland who is not with us, but is very easily contactable. Freedom Travel in Celbridge. Ciara Mooney has launched a product which is exclusively specialising in solo travel, groups dealing with solo travellers. We also, as you say, have tour operators, escorted tour operators, who have specific tour solo travel product, travel department you mentioned. Tours, escorted tours are holidays where you bring groups of solo travellers specifically together. Jeanette, is that something Sunway have been doing?
Well, I've actually done an escorted tour for a few days by myself, alone, and I did one in Spain. And, you know, it was a lovely way for seeing the destination with the language barrier and whatever. It's very good to do escorted tours because, you know, it's safety in numbers and you're not going to have a problem. But I thought it was lovely that you could just get away and be on your own and do exactly what you want. Or, you know, as Melissa said, you at night in the evening you go and you can join whoever was sitting beside you on the coach that day, or they do have the welcome drinks and whatever. I understand what you said there about the.
I think what we're talking about here is you can travel as a solo traveller with an escorted tour which has couples, solo, couple, solo. One that is exclusively bringing solo travellers together. That's the concept, isn't it? That you're dealing with,
Okay.
And do you want to come in as well, Marissa, if you?
Yeah, with our products, there's certainly the option of tailor-made groups. It's really just generating that group of people, of solo travelers. I know that predominantly a lot of the people booking our product do through agents, so I'm sure that would certainly be a possibility to generate a group of solo travelers. I think it's just finding that batch of people that all want to go on the same holiday. I think that would probably be the best bet.
Actually, a very good idea.
Yeah, Sunway don't do it at the moment, but you're taking it.
We would have stuff for the solo traveller on all aspects of our program, but no, we haven't had that one. But
So
I love the idea.
Your idea will come up at the Sunway and the Travel Corporation board meetings.
The Monday meeting,
Sunway and Uniware board meetings. Really great idea, well done. I'm going to have a quick check to see if I can get the name of the Irish-based brand that Ciara Mooney launched as well before the end of the day. Second row here, sorry.
What are the favourite destinations of solo travellers? Now, when I say solo travellers, I mean couples and solo.
Do you want to bring your microphone into your mouth?
Solo and couples.
Oh, it's not working.
All right, sorry. Solos and couples. Outside of Spain, what are the best destinations? Because my experience that they don't charge the supplements in, say, Thailand or Asian countries.
Really interesting question. Where are you most likely not to be charged a single supplement? That's a
You're
huge.
not charged in Morocco. I know there's we've got hotels in Morocco that have no single supplement at all year round. So that would be
Morocco?
one that comes to mind. Spain, we have a few, and we do have some in Portugal. We actually have one, I think, in Sardinia. We have one in Sardinia as well. Yeah.
And Marissa, and what are the best countries for no single supplement?
I would say that you're not limited to only certain areas where you wouldn't be charged the single supplement. It's certainly available all around. So I wouldn't say that, focus your attention on one area. If you really want to go somewhere, it doesn't mean that there's not going to be offers there available to you. I would say obviously in more Europe-based, because like anything, it's starting to pick up and starting to generate a lot of interest. So you might not necessarily find that there's deals everywhere, but there certainly are offers available in all destinations, depending on the company that you're booking with and that type of thing. But I wouldn't limit your aspirations in terms of where you want to travel to certain destinations just because you're a solo traveler. There are a lot of different offers out there, and there are
It's a slightly
companies.
different question, really. What countries are more likely to have no single supplement?
I would probably say European countries would be certainly your best bet.
Yeah.
But there are offers outside of that for solo travelers. It doesn't mean solo travelers really you're going to have to travel in Europe. It's just that's sort of primarily where you would see that.
And your own experience, you mentioned Thailand. You've come across. Yeah.
Supplement in Thailand, and on quite a few occasions. So I was just thinking countries like Malaysia, places like that.
I think the answer to your question is probably a little bit complex. The notion of charging per person sharing was, as I said, the European plan system was used by hotels largely through the world that dealt with the European market. It's interesting that you picked up Thailand. I know in Vietnam, when the escorted tours go in, that the hotels there charge a single supplement. But interestingly enough, the European plan isn't widely used, isn't used everywhere. There are a lot of places which just charge by the room, and it's becoming increasingly the practice of chain hotels. A lot of the chain hotels that dominate France would say you're paying for the room. Now it's not exactly no single supplement, but it means that if the two people pay for a room, or you pay for a room, it removes that complicated pricing structure where people are calculating all the time when there's a couple that you have to double the price. And that a large swathe of the world it would have been associated with motels in America originally, but now almost the large American chains are almost all doing the same. They charge for the room, and if you want to get 15 people into that room, it still costs the same, and then you charge. So it's not. Morocco is very interesting to hear. My experience of the no single supplement has been that it's been used as a promotion to fill rooms at times that they aren't full. It's also very interesting that there are some hotels in the Irish section here who are vigorously promoting no single supplement. The Westport stand has an offer for no single supplement for solo travellers. So within the Irish hotel system and within the European hotel system, there is this almost rigorous thing where you used to charge per person sharing. That's been changing to just charging for the room, and that makes it isn't the same as a no single supplement, but I do notice that creeping in. We don't have a real answer to your question, except that Jeanette says there are, if you go through the portfolio, you always have a few hotels that don't have the single supplement. Yeah. And they're wise hoteliers who've woken up to the fact that the solo traveller is often a very good spender, a much better spender than the average PPS person. Yeah. If we want to come in, we have another question here from the third row. Hello.
Hi.
Yeah, I guess you could say I'm a bit of a veteran of the adventure traveling. It's more of a comment than a question. Over the years, I've gone on several adventure tours with the likes of G Adventures, Intrepid, Explore, etc. Over Asia, South America, Africa. And what I found is that you're actually better going to these trips on your own than having someone else with you. Yeah. Because having someone with you, you're kind of hanging around with them a lot more than you are with the rest of the group. Mm-hmm. So what I say on that is, it's actually a fantastic way of actually going on holidays. and seeing the world, especially in places like Asia and South America, etc.
Here, here.
Yeah, no, I fully recommend it.
And as I say, there is a trend of people who have partners and are leaving their partner behind, because how much of a holiday do you spend waiting for somebody to show up, and there's a row over somebody wants to go to the beach and the other wants to go to the museum, and how many domestics come out of situations like that. So you're absolutely right. I think it is the ideal way to see the world is on your own and enjoying your own company, as it were. Having more questions.
Can I just interrupt you 1 second, Eoghan? I think a good tip for the solo traveller would be early booking, because there are, like, if you look at in January what's available for the year, there will be certain times where it's much less expensive to travel as a solo traveller. So I would recommend early booking. That would be a good tip for the solo traveller.
Early booking, and the other great thing if you're on your own is you do not have to wait for confirmation of when to pounce for the flight. If you find the flight at quarter past midnight on Saturday, you can actually book it yourself without having to make serious consultations, and then you go back into the website and it's gone up by €40. There's a lot of huge advantages, as well as the disadvantages that I outlined at the start of the discussion. If we have any more questions or comments, I'd love to have them. It's a really, really exciting and interesting subject, and I'd love to see great progress being made in the options being offered to solo, and the erosion of the single supplement as a penalty for solo travellers. You're very welcome. Thanks for the thumbs up. Okay, I'll finish up if we've no more questions or comments on the floor. Jeanette, what do you see happening in the future for solo traveller? Do you see the hoteliers that you're dealing with beginning to understand from their perspective? You mentioned there had been progress. Do you expect more progress in the year ahead?
Well, I think, Eoghan, the fact that it is on the rise, it's definitely going to, have to change a little bit, and hoteliers are just going to have to, and they're definitely beginning to look at it a little bit more, and maybe these are really good discussions here, because I think it's, it's kind of bringing it on a little bit. And I do think that they are very interested, because there's such a demand for it, and I think it's one of the biggest surges we've seen in the last 2 or 3 years is the solo traveller, and that's why adventure holidays and escorted tours are doing so well for the solo traveller.
Absolutely.
And Marissa, is the train unstoppable at this stage? Is the end of the single supplement nigh?
I think so. It's something that we need to keep talking about, to reiterate that point over and over again, that there is a huge group of people that are looking to travel in this particular way. It's almost a new travel trend, really. So that group of people can't go ignored or treated any differently than people traveling with a companion. So I think if we continue the dialogue and continue talking about it, that will, bring it up into discussion more and more. So I think it's just something that we need to continue talking about and to continue pushing. And I think eventually we will see that equality where, whether you're traveling alone, whether you're traveling with a friend or partner, whoever the case may be, that you're treated equally as someone booking and traveling.
Thank you very much. You've been a great audience. If there's any more comment, we do have time for it. Our question, and I want to say thank you to Jeanette and to Marissa for a great discussion. I've learned a lot. I really enjoyed it. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of the show.